Let's imagine that we are not following coherency in our application and we try to use random features or random effects or random colors. Now the confusion will happen from user side. So if this is our user and the user is trying to use the application, you have a circular application here. Imagine the tile is circular in shape. Now user first of all will be confused. Everything else is a square or rectangle, but only this application have a circular tile. So first of all, it would be very confusing for the user and you don't know what more fancy features or CSS in a technical term or effects you have provided to that application. So by just having a circular tile, the user will be confused. You may be standing out, but at the end, you will confuse some of the user which are new and are not sure about your application. And this app is getting an unnecessary popularity. Unless that is the motive, you shouldn't do that. So all applications should be coherent. It's a finance, HR, procurement, CRM, or any other module application you're building. It should be having the same color theme, same component styling, usability, and there are a set of guidelines what to be done and what not to be done from the color aspect, font aspect, from the component aspect. You should be keeping everything proper in the design side. Now, when it comes to design, you will be designing the application with the user. So you will be trying to understand what is the business use case. You should be first understanding the user's stories, not utilizing your own understanding or capability of how the technical things will come together, but first trying to understand or grasp the entire picture or the user story. After that only you should really use your own technical understanding of the components of the engineering side of the tool. So that is one of the biggest mistake I find when you go for a design workshop. The engineers are always curious to jump into the side of how things will come up together and not really understand in the user workshop what is the real problem which they need to solve. So let's come back to the principles. These are all basically real world scenarios and experience which you will be also facing when you are standing in front of customer and they are asking you something. The first motive is to follow the simple principle of grasping all the things before really suggesting any of your own technical ideas, unless you are very sure about or have seen that same case in the past scenario. Okay, so let's talk about the third principle of delighting your user. The feeling that your application is made. The user will be waiting for 4 months, 3 months, sometimes 2 or 1 month for the application to finish. For the application you have done the customer workshop, you have done the design thinking workshop and went through a lot of problems, user stories, and finally the app is ready. And they cannot wait to see your application. And you provided an application which is menial or average or just meeting their requirement. They will not be very happy. That is the bottom line. So you have to be delighting your user with the design. It should be so simple to use. It should be so beautiful as well that they should be love working on it. Any problem comes in your application and they have to really trigger your application and work through it, they should feel like it's just steps. I need to press few button and my work will be done. So it should be delightful experience when they are using your application, and that happens if you go to the details and give attention to each details, may it be color, may it be border shadow. So all the details, when they are perfected, you get a delightful experience. That is what I have seen, that if I really am concerned about a delightful experience, I go and try to tune everything, taking care of the details of the application from a CSS level, from a features level, from a level where some error occurs, how gracefully the application crashes, or if not about crashing, or maybe about going to a state where it doesn't find any data, how gracefully it handles that, how robust your application is, and all of that managed by your UI. And taking care of all those details gives your user a delightful experience. It's about attention to the details. That's what will give your application a delightful experience. Now let's talk about these two features. These are more like a technical principles when it comes to role-based. When I'm talking about a role-based, then your UI5 or Fiori application should be given to the user based on if they have authorization to view that application. This is your Launchpad, and the user can see this application if you have designed a, for example, sales order approval application. The user should be given permission first to use the application. If they are having permission, then they see it. If they don't have permission, they don't see it. So this is the role-based. If it's a supervisor who does the approval of the sales order, they are able to see the application. And this Launchpad have multiple tiles, and all the tiles represent one application. If you click this sales order approval application, the entire screen will change and you go inside the sales order application. And more about that we will talk in the next section. But your entire application in the context is then switched to sales order. So it's T code. So if you have a T code, you can see your sales order. If you enter your T code VA03, it's regarding your sales order. If you are a developer, you can enter a T code of SE80, where the BAP development can be done. And if you are a data maintenance function consultant, then you can enter SE11 to go into table structure definition and seeing the data, for which SE16 can be utilized. So all that concept is now mapped into Launchpad tiles. You press on any tile and you go to that specific context where you can perform your activity. An entirely new application can come with the same coherent design UI. So that should be done in the Launchpad based on the role. You should be showcasing what the application user can see. Now the next thing is adaptability. Your application should be working on the mobile device and the tablet. So it's similar to making your application responsive. And as you can see here, that the same Launchpad works on the mobile device as well, and the bigger screen as well, and all that should be handled technically and also from a design perspective, because after design has been done, the same design will be implemented by engineers. But most probably the Launchpad would be already there when you are in your application development phase. You might be having some of the application already deployed, or there will be this standard Launchpad given to you out of the box if you are trying to implement Fiori UI or UX. So this will be obviously provided to you within the landscape. So you don't have to really create those from scratch, but your application, the new application, the custom-made application, whatever you produce, that should have the capability to adapt based on what are the interfaces users are going to use.